All right, folks. Nice. Here we go. Episode 12 of GBG. That's right. Episode 12. I know what you're thinking. All my thousands and thousands, if not millions of followers and subscribers. GBG. Didn't you have episode 12 last week? Screwed up. Going to be honest with you. Last week I said it was episode 12. It was only episode 11. So this is episode 12. Thank you, Mike on the mic, for repeatedly correcting me on that and then correcting it on the website. So this is episode 12. I am Green Bay Greg, co-host of Twist, the Week in Sports Talk, and Green Bay Greg, the show you're listening to right now. You can find Green Bay Greg Wednesdays at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock Central on the RTF Sports Network, live on Facebook right now, or you can find it anytime on Facebook through the Twist page, also on YouTube. They'll probably be up tomorrow at some point, Monday, so you can get a quick sneak peek of that. Let's see what we got here. We got some comments. All right. Already. Apparently, Mike from Mike on the Mic just referred to me as a moron less than 1 minute and 30 seconds into the episode. Thank you, Mike on the Mic. Appreciate it. I think he's driving right now somewhere through God's country. Maybe he's crossing over into the Minnesota border. Anyway, thanks for calling me a moron. All right, let's jump right into it. We got some sports back, so we might as well talk about it. First things first, Major League Baseball, I've heard different reports about what games are suspended, postponed versus completely canceled. With the Miami Marlins having, I think now they're at 20 to 21 players / personnel that have tested positive for COVID-19. And now there's other teams, including the St. Louis Cardinals, which had a couple of players test positive, which suspended their entire series with the Milwaukee Brewers. It was going to be the game on Friday was postponed to Sunday, and then they were going to have a doubleheader on Sunday, blah, blah, blah. And then that entire series has been postponed, if not canceled by now. But I think they're in the 30s for the amount of games that have been either postponed or canceled. Look, as everyone knows, I'm the first one to, rain the hammer down on Major League Baseball. I'm not blaming them for this. They've done everything that was asked of them. It's unfortunate that in this setting where you really can't feasibly have a bubble environment for Major League Baseball on the notice that they were hoping to get. They did the best they could. I don't think there's going to be baseball come as early as August 15th. I think it's going to be suspended by then. We'll wait and see. But I think that this is something that they, gave it a shot, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they did the best they could. NBA is back, moving on. I'll get into everything going on with their bubble scenario, but the NBA is back. It's great to watch. I'm having a lot of fun watching basketball. I honestly am not a huge watch on TV basketball fan until you kind of get to the conference finals and the finals, just because I'm a fan of defense, and there's not a lot of defense, but I'm having a lot of fun watching this. You get to kind of see the guys more up close and personal, just because the camera isn't focusing on, the kiss cam or the mascot or anything like that. They're focusing on the players, and I'm having a lot of fun watching. It's kind of giving me a new respect to the game. The next thing I want to talk about are the NFL players are opting out. They're kind of given this window of time, a week to 10 days to opt out. Now, we were talking about it on Twist, the Week in Sports Talk, that players are kind of given choices, and that is if you're opting out and you don't have a medical condition, you get $150,000 salary to just walk away. Now, if you do have a medical condition, which is deemed that you're in a high-risk situation, you can get $350,000 regardless of what your salary is. Mike and Matt Benz, my two co-hosts, have different opinions on this. Look, my thing is, it's up to you. I can kind of get into it a little more, and as weeks go on, I'm sure I'm going to get into it more of a social aspect of it. However, right now, all I'm going to say is these guys are allowed to do it. They can do what they want. I do think there's more long-term repercussions from this if you don't have a medical condition and you're not going out and quote-unquote earning your paycheck. But I'll get into that. I'll get into that in the weeks to come. So it is what it is. I wish it weren't the case, but yeah, players are opting out and not giving reasons why. I know that there's a lot of sarcastic commentary right now because of the number of New England Patriots that are opting out, that they're tanking for Trevor Lawrence, who would be the number one pick in the draft next year, the quarterback from Clemson. I don't necessarily think that's the case. There's never been a case that I can remember of a team completely tanking for a quarterback for a number one overall pick. I know there's a lot of hype and innuendo that that's what the Indianapolis Colts did to get Andrew Luck. First of all, look how that turned out for him. And they also had to deal with injuries at the quarterback position, not just with Peyton Manning, but quarterbacks throughout that season. And they were just a horrible team to begin with. Miami wasn't able to do it. They still got Tua because of Joe Burrow, but that's just it. When it comes to football, players jump up and players fall down. So to say you're going to tank is a lot different than basketball, where you have a LeBron James and you know going into the season where he's going to be the number one pick. So moving on. Moving on to You're Better Than That. Dusty Baker, manager of the Houston Astros, came out after the Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher, which I'm not going to say his name because you could replace his name with any other name and the case would have been the same. He was the pitcher from the Dodgers was suspended 8 games, which in a normal season would be an equivalent to a 21-game suspension for throwing directly at Houston Astros players. It is what it is. Dusty Baker came out and started ripping on, calling it Bush League, this, that. Dusty, here's the thing. You're better than that. The only reason why you have a job in Major League Baseball right now as a manager is because of the sign-stealing suspensions that were handed out, and managers, coaches, front office people lost their jobs, got suspended. It's the only reason. You are so irrelevant. You were the worst manager in all of baseball back when you had Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds, and you couldn't even win a World Series then. You had the 2 best players hitting the 3-4 spot, and you had the greatest hitter of all time. And then you had Jeff Kent, the cop, hitting right next to him. But look, Dusty, you're irrelevant. The only reason why you have a job, like I said, you couldn't win a World Series with Chicago when they were doing great. Shut your mouth. You knew what you were getting into when you started this whole thing. They came to you because they couldn't get anyone else. So you know what? Take your medicine. What you should have said in this situation was, look, based on what's been going on in the offseason, based on everything that happened in previous years with previous Houston Astros teams, I just hope that everyone got their pound of flesh and we can now move on and have a regular and have the rest of our season. Admit it. Take your medicine. You're the manager of the team. Suck it up, Buttercup. You should have just moved on. Don't try playing the victim. Your team that you're now managing won a World Series because they blatantly cheated. Move on, dude. Take your medicine and move on. Stop acting like you're taking the moral high ground. You're managing a team that systematically cheated using science, technology. And you're talking buzzers on players, vibrating devices on players where they're figuring out what pitch is coming. And then, using trash cans, they, knock on trash cans to find out if a slider or a curveball or a fastball is coming. Suck it up, Buttercup. Dusty, move on. Okay, now for the GBG moment of Zen. Usually my favorite part of the show. Because this is the opportunity where I take a look at something good that's going on in the sports world. Sometimes it's off the field. Sometimes it's directly involved with what's going on the field. What I want to talk about is the NBA, the WNBA, the National Hockey League, and soccer. These 4 professional sports decided to use the bubble mentality. So you're taking all of your players, limiting the number of representatives from each team, putting them in a secluded environment, which they're referring to as a bubble. And in this bubble, no one can enter until they've taken a certain number of COVID-19 tests and shown up negative. Then they're allowed in the bubble. And then so for all intents and purposes, the idea is you keep the COVID outside of this area. And as of right now, you've had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, now they're into today with no cases of COVID-19. And so the bubble idea is working, and it's great for sports like hockey, basketball, and lawn chess, where you only have 5 or 6 guys on your playing field per team at a time, and your rosters are limited to, what is it, 15 to 20 players? Some in, and then I understand that you have additional players, but you have less than 50 representatives per team when you start talking coaching staffs and strength and conditioning coaches and all this stuff. So you can do this, and it's working out well. So if you're someone like me that enjoys watching baseball on TV, and within the next couple of months, football on TV, what I'm doing is I'm adjusting my sports interest. I'm trying to figure out how I can watch more basketball. Like I said at the beginning of the show, haven't always been, a watch on TV NBA fan. But I'm learning to. Why? Because in a month from now, it might be the only thing on. Because, right now it looks like baseball, it might not be working because they're trying to do something that just might not be possible. And now you're playing with 9 guys on a team with baseball. Once you get to football, you're talking 11 guys per team, and then you have 22 guys when you start talking offense versus defense, special teams. You're talking rosters that used to be 53 men, which might be expanded to 65 because of, injuries and COVID. So you're talking a couple hundred people representing each team in non-bubble facilities. So these sports might not be able to finish. So like I told my kids when they were 5, and I mentioned it on this show before, I'll say it again. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. Look, 2 weeks ago, I sat down with an avid lawn chess fan to try watching some lawn chess. Didn't really enjoy it, but I understand that might be my only option for when I want to turn the TV on and get sports. I might have to watch soccer. So it is what it is. I'm trying to make the best of it. But for as far as my moment of Zen is concerned, I give a lot of credit to these sports that are able to make this whole bubble concept, this whole, let's seclude our players for a certain amount of time and see what happens. Now, granted, we're only 4 days in, and as players have to leave for personal reasons, I know Gordon Hayward from the Boston Celtics is going to be leaving the bubble soon because his wife is going to be having a kid, and there's protocol in place. So he's got to get tested while he's gone, and then he's got to sit out for a few days once he kind of gets into like the purgatory of the bubble. You're not out in the regular public, but you're not in the bubble yet. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, it just seems like things are working out. Good for them. But because, like I said, it might be our only option in a few weeks. If baseball continues to go down the path they are. And right now, I'm crossing my fingers for football, but you never know. The other thing I'm worried about, too, with college football, big college football fan, they're trying to do everything they can. And even if their players are being extremely responsible, let's just hypothetically say they are, there's a very good chance they might be on campus with people who aren't being that responsible and don't care as much. So those people might be passing on, COVID to players who are trying to be as responsible as possible. So it is what it is. Let's just make the best of it, cross our fingers, and see what happens. So we are going to make a smooth transition to outside the arena. And when I say outside the arena, let's just go outside the bubble to the bubble. And I want to talk about Zion Williamson from the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion was the number 1 overall pick in last year's NBA draft and started off the season on the injury list because of a knee injury. Before COVID happened, I think it was 13 games that he was able to play when he came back at the beginning to mid-June, January. Got 13 games in, and then COVID shut everything down. Well, in the Eastern Conference of the NBA, there's only 9 teams there. And the last 2 teams are fighting for that 8th spot once they start your traditional 7-game series. 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7. Well, in the Western Conference, there's 13 teams. That means there's 5 teams that aren't going to make it. Why are there so many teams? Because there was kind of this unwritten handshake agreement with all of the owners and the executives because there was a lot more clutter for that 8th spot. But the wink, wink, nudge, nudge was we got to find a way to get Zion Williamson on more TV. We missed him for the first half of the season, and he's a prolific player. He's very exciting to watch, but they want to get him in. So what's been going on? Let's just take a quick look here. Okay, so let's just get the banners back up. Okay, sorry about this. Just wanted to read some comments. Nothing with Buck. Love you. I understand. College can't bubble. And I think I got into that point, so hopefully I answered your question. But the whole Zion thing, he's on a limited minutes count right now. He played 15 minutes on Thursday night and less than 20 last night when they played. And in the Thursday night game, it was a last-second game. They ended up losing by 2 points. Well, here's the thing. He's not being limited on minutes because in the same way that Kemba Walker is because he's coming back from an injury. He's being limited on minutes because when they were in the bubble doing their practices and their warm-up games, he had to leave the bubble for a family emergency. So he left the bubble, didn't, tested negative, no COVID for the Z-Dog, comes back, so he's perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, and they limit his minutes. Listen, New Orleans Pelicans, your entire management, your executives, your coaching staff, you are in the bubble for one reason, because of Zion. You have to give the people what they want. This isn't a time and place for you to say, oh, we're preparing, we don't want to injure him. No, he wasn't injured. He should be playing like everyone else. And, especially when you guys are in a position where you're only there because of one player. Now, you got to win those games or, your season's going to be over in the next 6 games after your little preliminary season's done. If you don't, make it to that 8th spot. However, the problem is that you're not playing him, which is what the people want. It's not fair to the public. It's not fair to these people who, to the teams who are also there that are fighting for that 8th spot. So my point to the whole thing is at some point you just got to suck it up and say, look, he's not injured. He's perfectly healthy. He passed all of the corona tests that they were asked. And now get out there and play him. He should be playing 35, 40 minutes. He's a 19, 20-year-old kid? Get your ass out there. Like Billy Madison said, you get your ass out there and you find that effing dog. Get out there and play the game. Play the game. Like I said, Kemba Walker, when he played against the Bucks on Friday night. I understand he's on a minutes count. He's coming off an injury. It's a lot to ask of a guy to come back in and just jump in and start playing 35, 40 minutes. But if the reason you were gone was to go to a family emergency, whether that was a funeral or whatever the case is, you tested negative. The NBA is saying you're okay to play, so get out there and play. Give the fans what they want. Fans don't want to see you playing 12 to 15 minutes and then your team losing by 2 points. The fans want to see you in the game at clutch time. So get out there and play. All right. Moving on to the GBG Challenge. So here we go. For those of you who just watch my show and enjoy the off-the-sports type banter, well, here you go. For those of you who watch my show for sports, you got some of that early. But here we go. The GBG Challenge for this week is chill the F out. Look, I've been told, I mention it a lot, I have a pretty good memory. I do remember that in February and the beginning of March, when our country started becoming crazy paranoid with the coronavirus pandemic that was going from China and working its way to the United States of America, people were panicking. What were they panicking about? What were they doing in their panic? Well, they're hoarding toilet paper, which now that we look back at that 6 months later, hoarding toilet paper for a respiratory virus is insane. But people were doing it. But we've moved on from that. I've gone to the grocery store several times, been able to get toilet paper. Congratulations, society, you've evolved. Here's the other thing we've evolved on. I read a survey or a test, and in the beginning of March, and it was confirmed by other sources, very reliable sources, that there was a percentage of American people ages 16 to 25. I think the number was 39% of people at least slightly believed that it was possible to contract the coronavirus by drinking Corona beer. Let's let that sink in for a second. People at one point did actually believe that. And I thought at one point the number was 39%. I then read another survey that said it went down to 11%. The fact that it's not 0% followed with an asterisk that said that's a stupid question, makes me bothered as an American that people would actually believe that. Here's my point. We've evolved again as a society. We've moved on. People don't believe that anymore. More knowledge is coming out. So my GBG challenge is chill out. Right now we have two different sides of the fence when it comes to wearing masks. We have the people who think that if you don't wear a mask, you're pretty much single-handedly killing off the American population. Then we have the people who think it's an invasion of their First Amendment rights. And how dare you ask me to wear a mask? Oh my God, I have rights as an American. I have civil liberties that you cannot take away from me. If you wear a mask, you're nothing but a mindless sheep following in the slaughter. Here's the thing. I don't care enough. I talked about this on Twist. It's part of my rant. For those of you who don't want to or don't watch Twist, just watch this show. Here's my stance. I don't care enough. I'm treating the mask concept in the same way I'm treating walking into someone's house when it comes to whether or not I'm wearing shoes. If someone asks me to take off my shoes, or if I go by the door, or if I walk in their house and I see a mat and their shoes sitting there, I'm going to assume that they would like me to take my shoes off, and I'm more than happy to do it. If I'm taking my shoes off and I walk into someone's house and they say, hey, you know what? We got dog hair, whatever, blah, blah. We're redoing the carpets, whatever the case is. You don't have to take your shoes off. Well, then I'll leave my shoes on. I'm respecting the environment that I'm in. Why? Because I don't want to piss anyone off. It's not a big deal to me. I have never woken up in the morning and thought to myself on my to-do list, things I need to do today. I need to intentionally go out of my way and annoy someone or make someone uncomfortable. I wouldn't do that. Why? It's not my nature. Someone wants me to wear a mask when I walk into their establishment, I'm going to wear a mask. I always have one in my car. I always have one in my pocket. Or I'll go back out to my car if I don't have one in my pocket. If someone says, you know what, I don't care, I'm not going to. What was the sarcastic joke I meant? I love my beard, and I spent $4,000 on braces 4 years ago. I'm going to show off the old chiclets. But in the meantime, it's not a big deal to me. Why are people so bothered by this? You're not taking away my civil rights. You're not taking away my civil liberties. Just go with it. Eventually, we're going to evolve like we did with the toilet paper and like we did with the sources of Corona. We're going to evolve, and everyone's just going to mesh. So stop getting so GD burned up about this. It's not a big deal. There we go, folks. That's your challenge for this week. I want to thank everybody for joining me, whether you watch me live on Facebook, whether you watch me on YouTube, 2 p.m., 1 Central on Wednesdays on the RTS Sports Network. Great network, great shows on that network. You can find Twist, Mike on the Mic, Benzi's Bit. Thanks a lot for listening. I really appreciate it. Thanks again. Till next time, GBG out.